For those who are unfamiliar, this is Robin Bullock. He's a televangelist, an evangelical hate preacher who is absolutely obsessed with Donald Trump. Prophesied that Trump is going to win the election. And when he didn't win the election, he prophesied that Trump was going to take the White House back before 2024. Kept doing it over and over and over again. We've been watching this Rumble video. Now, this is not the first part. If you haven't seen the others, don't sweat it. This stands independently of the rest. I'll explain context if it's missing. But up to now, Robin Bullock has been trying to explain himself and explain why, despite being wrong about some of his prophecies, he can still be a man of God, completely disregarding what the Bible says about false prophets not being allowed to preach or hold congregations. Actually, it says they should receive the death penalty, but that's neither here nor there. So let's listen to this guy try to justify getting prophecies wrong and remaining at the top of a hate church. Oh, yeah, and while we listen to him, we're going to play a little bit of Final Fantasy VII.
And the details of it are so, but I believe we're probably in the timing of knowing all of this now. Now, I don't know that, but see, here it is timing.
Yeah.
To me...
Yeah, so the excuse he gave for prophesying that something was going to happen and then that thing doesn't happen is God reveals facts to you. Fact, Trump is going to be president again. That's what he's claiming. I don't believe it, but whatever. But God isn't really clear about the timing of it, so he injected his own belief into the prophecy, is what he's basically saying. I believed that the timing was going to be before 2024. And he's just justifying this way. He's like, yeah, no big deal. Of course. I thought it was going to be before 2024. And yeah, I was wrong, so who cares? Well, the Bible cares. The Bible has very specific things to say about people who do that. But okay.
I see it so vivid that it's just now. But I believe that we're coming into that timing that things like that will be uncovered. And I wondered if that's not that plain. I don't know.
That'd be fascinating, wouldn't it?
And
yeah.
But it was 200 and something. I remember in my dream it was something that
his prophetic dream, presumably.
And they were taken off of it.
Big plane. Yeah, well, I saw a special on it recently, but maybe that's why it's in the back of my head. Because you're talking about this plane going, I thought, man, I hope he's going to.
Not long ago, I gave that word, and you were talking to me about it. I was standing on stage. Now, here's timing. I said, I'm playing prophetically and singing. And I said, the Lord said, there's going to be, somebody will jump out of a plane. I said, they're just going to jump out of a plane.
Okay, that's kind of broad. Doesn't that happen like every now and then? Aren't there skydivers that do this like every day, every single day? Seriously, how many skydivers are there out there? This is not an uncommon occurrence. If you want me to believe that God is talking to you, sending you secret messages or something, you're going to have to come up with something a little more impressive than someone's going to jump out of a plane.
I said, I don't know what all that's about. But you're going to see this.
We got that clip. We got that clip. It's a minute long. You want us to show that clip?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead and show that, Emily.
Urgent prophetic alert. Oh, wow. Okay.
Something big, something about an aeroplane, something about someone jumping out.
Oh, so July 12th, 2022. Okay.
Keep your eyes open, your ears tuned in. For in the static and the sounds and all of the turmoil going on all around, God is going to turn the page.
Back now with dramatic moments playing out as a small plane came in for an emergency landing at Raleigh-Durham Airport in North Carolina. Investigators say a 23-year-old passenger jumped from the plane and died before the plane made a bumpy landing.
Dude, this stuff happens all the time. People jump from planes constantly. It may not be super common for somebody to jump from a passenger plane or whatever, but it's not the first time in history that this has taken place. Seriously? And he's using this as some kind of some kind of evidence that he's prophetic, that he's getting messages from God himself. Like, give me a break. This is crazy that anybody honestly believes this.
The plane's tires collapsed. The plane veered out of control for a time before the pilot managed to bring it to a stop. The pilot had radioed saying he was unable to open the right landing gear. Fortunately, the left landing gear was working properly. The pilot suffered minor injuries.
What's this say? Gop is absolutely goop? Is that what this says? Gop is absolutely goop? Why did he make this part of his logo? What a weird thing to say. Gaiag. Gop is absolutely goop. Is this a reference to, like, what's her name? That woman that runs Goop? Gwyneth Paltrow, is that her name? The hell is happening right now?
So someone might say, Robin, what was God wasting your time telling you that? What was the purpose?
Well, see, you heard what he said. He said, you'll see that about somebody jumping out of a plane. He said, and I'm going to turn the page.
Yeah.
That was a road marker. It was a signpost to let everybody know, and said, you'll see this happen and you'll know. And I took it was the nation and all this about the elections and all this. He said, I'm going to now turn the page and you'll see that.
So something might have happened on that day that was a page turner, if you will.
Well, either that or he's about to turn it now.
Okay.
Because you have to remember, he showed something that random and told that, and then said, then I'm going to turn the page. He didn't say when. He said, but you know, this is the time of it when you see this happening.
Your mom's going to turn the page. This is just bizarre, dude. By the by, I actually did think it said Gop is goop, but I did realize a minute or two later that it said God is good. So I decided to stick with the Gop is goop thing. I like it. I like that one better. Gop is absolutely goop. They looked like peas, okay? I get they were D's, but they looked like peas. They shouldn't have modeled the D's to look like peas if they didn't want people to think it said Gop is goop.
And now he's turning the page. See, a lot of prophecies are signposts like that. A lot of prophecies will come out. I gave one about Mexico, and the shaking in Mexico. And it was the strangest thing. I'm standing on stage.
Well, here's the thing. This is what Robin Bullock is trying to communicate right now, okay? What he's trying to communicate is that he prophesies things that come true on a regular basis. Well, there are two things I have to say about that. First of all, I can't accept you prophesying things on a regular basis correctly. It needs to be 100% of the time correct for it to be a prophecy from God. And it also has to be very specific. It can't just be like, maybe this will happen, and I don't know, maybe Biden will win. I think Biden is going to win this election. That's not a prophecy. That's a prediction. You're assuming that's going to happen. I need something more specific, a lot more specific than this political candidate's going to win or that one's going to win or whatever else. It needs to be, what makes something a prophecy is that it is so incredibly unbelievable that this thing would happen that it couldn't have happened by any means other than through a miracle. In my mind, that's what it needs to be to qualify as a prophecy. Robin Bullock is telling us all these weird things like, I think Biden is going to get really sick from COVID and he might die from it if something doesn't happen. That's not a prophecy. What are you even talking about? So not only would I need that to be the case before I believed that it was prophecy, more specific, a lot more specific. You are telling us information that you literally could not have known by any other means but through God. And also, it needs to be correct 100% of the time. 100%. Either God talks to you or he doesn't talk to you. Which one is it? If God talks to you, he will not get anything wrong, period. But weirdly, Robin Bullock gets things wrong all the time, constantly, matter of fact. This isn't like a God talks to me some of the time thing. If God's not talking to you, then don't tell us that he is, which is exactly what he does when he claims it to be a prophecy. He's claiming that God gave him this information.
And I start playing Spanish-sounding music or something, and the next thing you know, I hear this word about Mexico. And then the Lord had a word for the leader of Mexico after that. And it predicted, or didn't predict, it told in a prophecy
Right, not a prediction, a prophecy.
A major earthquake would hit Mexico.
That's not a prophecy, because that happens from time to time. That's not a miraculous event. There are fault lines throughout Mexico, right? Yeah, there are a billion fault lines all through Mexico. There are earthquakes in Mexico all the time. This is not a prophecy. This is I think that this is going to happen. If it could happen by any means other than God, it's not a prophecy. It's nonsense.
And then it did. And so, but the time markers, he's speaking to nations now. People need to remember this stuff. Now, that brings us up to this, that the Lord impressed me this morning, continuing what we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah.
I hope all the timing things we talked about help
It's
people.
been very helpful. It helps me. So
But
I'm helped.
right. Well, you know, when a prophet starts walking through time, I'm telling you, Steve, people need to be very, very cautious about how they criticize them.
This is Robin Bullock finding a slick, easy way to get out of criticism. When a prophet gets something wrong, people have to be very careful about how they criticize. And that's basically what he's saying right now. This is Robin Bullock absolutely losing his mind at the fact that somebody criticized him for getting a prophecy unequivocally wrong. He claimed Trump is going to win the 2020 election. He didn't. He lost it. That's a wrong prophecy. And the Bible has a very specific prescription for people who do that. Not that I agree with that, but it absolutely most definitely does say that they're supposed to receive the death penalty for falsely prophesying like that. Listen to how he reacts to people pointing that out, that he falsely prophesied.
Apologize. Go ahead and apologize. Well, no! How about that? Just so you can hear me again. No! Because you are wrong. If this had no meaning to it and no prophet standing speaking today was, if they were all wrong, why don't it go away?
Talking about the election, why doesn't the claim that the election was stolen go away? Because he won't give it up. Because he refuses to admit that he was wrong about his prophecy. That's why it doesn't go away. Because he keeps talking about it. Not because any other reason. Not because some lawsuits succeeded or anything. They haven't. It's because he keeps bringing it up. Plain and simple.
How come it hasn't ever faded away?
Because he won't give it up.
How come it's still a fight over that election?
It's not still a fight over the election. It's a fight only in this guy's head.
If it was wrong and it wasn't true, then why are we still debating all of this? Folks, it would have already passed. You keep your...
You don't call the next president being inaugurated and moving into the White House and the previous president moving out of the White House passing? Do we have different definitions of the term "it would have already passed"? Are we talking about the same thing right now?
Doctrines. You keep your doctrines, but I'll tell you what, you are going to answer for trying to regulate the Lord's prophets. You with your big educations. You're going to answer for trying to regulate a prophet of the Lord. And telling a prophet of the Lord that what God said is not true, but what you said is true?
No, that's not what anyone's saying. They're saying that you claimed to hear the voice of God. That thing did not come to pass. So you lied. There are two people in the prophet relationship. There's the person communicating what God has to say, and then there's God. There are two people in this relationship. One of the people lied. Who lied? Was it God Or was it you? It was very obviously Robin Bullock pretending to hear the word of God when he absolutely didn't, without a shadow of a doubt. And like I said, the Bible has a very specific prescription for people who claim to hear the voice of God who don't.
You're in trouble. You're in trouble now.
I'm sorry, I can't take it seriously, man. I just can't. I think he's completely full of it. And based on all of the failed prophecies that this dude's laid down, I'm comfortable saying that he is completely full of it. Just reading Bible verses that say if a prophet gets it wrong, you have no reason to fear him. He should just be ignored. Just based on that alone, I'm comfortable saying this guy's full of it.
Because if you threw somebody into some of the things that they walked through, they would collapse. I mean, you just think about what you're seeing around you. I've seen things and heard things that you think, dear God, what am
Oh, yeah, he claims to have gone to heaven, by the by. That might be what he's talking about here.
I looking at here? You know, people got all, they listen to Kat tell wild things.
Yeah, talking about Kerr. She is a famous televangelist, extremely influential televangelist. Talked about her on my main channel not too long ago. She claims to also control the weather, says that she can force hurricanes to dissipate or go to other areas of the U.S. or whatever other nonsense. This is an example of the things that Kerr said. Not only does she claim to go to heaven and visit God on a regular basis and paint pictures of him and touch his hair and hang out and chill with Jesus all the time, but she says things like this too. Listen to this.
I take power over all the power of the enemy that is involved in activities in the White House or D.C., and in ways that they're cheating, stealing, and lying. They're defiling the people by allowing evil to come in. I command my host of heaven, 100 million, to go there now, and 24 hours a day for the next 10 days or 30 days, you will release the terror of God upon those places, upon the people doing those things, that they will come to repentance, or great fear will fall upon them, and they.
So what she's saying is she is commanding angels to go protect Donald Trump when he's still in office. Or wait, at this clip actually came out November 2021. So I guess the angels are supposed to put Trump back in office because he wasn't in office at this time. I think that's how it's supposed to have played out at this time. Well, anyway, how'd that work out for you, Kat? How'd that work out for everybody?
Will just sometimes stop what they're doing. Sometimes they will feel like they have to report it. Go host, make toast. And
Good.
in that second, they
Go host, make toast.
will immediately go and begin to leave waves. There are these waves of the terror of God. I mean, there's a terror. There's a terror of God coming, not for us. It's not for the body. It's for the wicked. And he is going to do it. But we can send the army of heaven who actually can bring that and release that. They will do it.
Good.
No to all of that. So anyway, that's Kerr. She's a nutter butter of epic proportions, to say the least. And old Robin Bullock here seems to be defending her, weirdly.
Think, dear God, what am I looking at here? You know, people got all, they listen to Kat tell wild things. They think this is so wild.
Absolutely.
Jello Mountain or something like that.
Right.
They don't even realize that.
Yeah, the claim that God lives in Jello, basically. Robin Bullock has said that exact thing, though, so that's not unique to Kerr.
When the Red Sea parted, it stood up and turned into Jello on both sides.
It had to.
What? Oh, my God. Okay. Continue.
Congealed, didn't it? Otherwise,
Well, it says it did.
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't say it.
Yeah, it says it congealed in its depths.
Okay, now we're going to have to check that. We're going to check that in a minute.
And so
wow.
it stood up in Jello. So if he can make the Red Sea Jello, why would you think that's not there?
Okay, so here's the argument. Kerr claims God lives in Jello, right? Actually, she said he lives in a gelatin type of structure that's pure energy, basically, is what she said. And I equate that to claiming that God lives in Jello. And that's That's what Robin Bullock is affirming here, seems to me, right? So the claim is the Red Sea turned to jello when they parted it. I'm very, very skeptical of that. I don't know that that's true. But okay, let's take that as a premise, I guess, for the moment, tentatively. So the claim is that the Red Sea turned to jello when it parted. And thus, that means it's ridiculous to think God doesn't live in jello. Well, of course God lives in jello. He created jello out of the Red Sea when it parted. Yes, God lives in jello. Don't be a fool. Of course he does. That's the argument here.
Congealed in its depths. And it stood up in jello. So if he can make the Red Sea jello, why would you think that's not there?
So this is a perfect example of post hoc justification, post hoc explanation. You start with a premise that's nonsense from the beginning, and you work backwards to justify that belief based on faulty information and ridiculous ideas. It's just insane, dude. These people are unhinged from reality.
You know, and I remember one time I stepped over into a place. I came out of there and I walked out of the room, and I'm looking at Robin and I'm looking at my kids, or Krista was there anyway, and I said, I've been somewhere.
Really?
And you don't ask to go, you're just there. And I said, you know, I've been in heaven more than once and saw throne rooms. He always shows me throne rooms. And I'm looking, and I didn't even know whether to tell it. And I said, I saw this big valley. It was a huge valley. It was beautiful, lush, green, big, tall trees. There was like fog coming up out of this valley.
Wow. Yeah,
it was,
beautiful.
and I'm just looking at it. I don't even think I was standing on the ground. I was just in the air somewhere looking at it. And then all at once, this big dinosaur head raised itself up above the trees out of that valley. And it just took me back like that. And I saw, and the Lord said, this is the valley where they live.
Yeah, he told this story the other day, too. I guess this is one of the things that he really wants to lean into right now. The Lord showed him heaven. He brought him to heaven, and he showed him dinosaurs. Absolutely insane, honestly. Absolutely insane.
And all of a sudden, I was back in my office.
Now, this is heaven? Is this in heaven?
It was in heaven.
Okay.
And just because they're extinct here don't mean they are there.
Right.
And so when prophets talk about things they see, they're seeing things a lot of times bigger than you can tell. And so anyway. But
well, you know, on the timing issue, in fact, maybe I'll ask this timing question as it relates to, because you, first of all, I like to point this out when the subject comes up once in a while. You and Kat Kerr are dear friends. She's coming to your place. People will say, but someone would say, well, Kat Kerr says it's 100 years or more into the future before the rapture comes, as we believe it to be. She will say that, but she'll also say we need to eat cake and celebrate. You being just as much a prophet, if not more. I mean, you guys are both prophets. You see some of the detail and some of the warnings, and you're not necessarily telling people to eat cake, but you would not be one of those, I wouldn't think, that would say, well, Steve, I think the rapture could be 100 years in the future. I don't think you think that way. Maybe I'm just going to ask you.
I'm going to be honest with you.
I haven't actually heard that claim that Kat Kerr believes the rapture will be 100 years in the future. That's new to me. That's fascinating. Okay.
Yeah.
I've never said when it would take place.
Okay.
I've never heard the Lord tell me that.
No, but he has claimed that we were in the season or whatever you want to call it. I don't specifically remember him claiming that the end was here and that blah, 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 but he has, or specifically naming a date, but he has said that we're in the end times now.
Okay.
I've never even heard him tell me it will be this. I'll tell you what the word says. It says, when the word is preached to the ends of the earth, then the end will come. But the thing I do, and I do say celebrate, because we're going to win this. See, this is the time of the victorious church. And the Lord gave me a prophetic word not long ago. He said, to win the fight of this one world government trying to push itself into being now before.
One world government is a big conspiracy theory that was originally directed at Jews back in Germany. Actually, it started in Russia in 1902. Eventually went on to be repeated by the Nazis in Nazi Germany. So yeah, the whole one world government thing is just complete nonsense.
For its time, he said, this is the victorious church I'm talking about. He said, win this fight. We're supposed to win this one. It's not coming in on our watch. We have to stand right now. This is not the time for that yet. There's 1 billion souls left to still come into the kingdom. And we got to see that 1 billion soul revival. But as far as the timing on the rapture, if it's tomorrow or 100 years, I kind of leave that up to the Lord.
Good idea, because that's what the Bible says you should do. It says no man knows the day or the hour or whatever else. So every time you claim to know that the rapture is coming on this day or that day or whatever else, you just make a bigger and bigger fool out of yourself. But that is something that these people and their friends tend to do. Make very specific predictions about this thing or that thing, about the end of days and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Because I don't know. I just know I believe there's a rapture of the church before that tribulation period.
Yeah, we were talking about that at the end of the show, maybe even after the show yesterday. You said the reason, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but tell people what you said was prove that the mark of the beast and stuff isn't really about to happen, even though they're trying to make it happen. What?
Oh, wow. That's actually kind of interesting. What proof do you have, is what he's asking, that the mark of the beast isn't going to happen anytime soon, though people think that it is?
Do you remember what you said?
Yes. Let's see. When you start talking about heavy things like this, you need to get it. You need to open the Bible.
There you go.
Now see, here is the thing. Now I want to get back to what we're talking about. Can we
wait? So he doesn't want to talk about this, I guess? You need to open the Bible. He didn't open the Bible. He just picked it up, right?
Do that, and then I'll answer that. I'll say that.
Go for it.
Okay, I sent a prophecy to you, and the only one I really planned on playing was the one I sent to you today.
Okay.
And but I'd like for people to hear that. Can we play that?
Yeah, go ahead and play that, Emily. I haven't seen this, so it'll be good.
Okay.
Today is a day that's different. This is what the Lord says to me.
Okay, so this is supposed to be a prophecy, I guess, from August 28th, 2022?
That today is a transition day. It's a transition day into war.
So at the time, the time difference between this old supposed prophecy that he gave and the conversation he's having with Steve Schultz here is a month and a half at most. Actually, closer to 5 weeks. Okay, I understand. Let me hear what Robin Bullock said one more time, because they jump over to a clip of Joe Biden. Listen to this again.
That today is a transition day. It's a transition day into war.
All right, it's a transition day into war. Well, this is something that these televangelists have been saying for 5 years now, since Donald Trump got into office. Certainly since Trump lost his position as president. They've been saying this stuff. Nothing surprising about hearing them say this is a transition into war. We've been hearing this for like ever, honestly.
Too much of what's happening in our country today is not normal. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
That is absolutely 100% true.
Now, I want to be very clear up front. Not every Republican, not even the majority of Republicans are MAGA Republicans. Not every Republican embraces their extreme ideology. I know, because I've been able to work with these mainstream Republicans.
I'm not seeing the point that he's trying to communicate. So Robin Bullock says today's a transition day, a transition into war or whatever, right? Well, first of all, that was 2 days before this. That was not the day. He said today is the transition. Days later, then Biden comes out there and gives a speech about the fact that the MAGA movement is dangerous and extreme and destroying democracy. First of all. Second, Biden never declared war on the MAGA movement, the people, or Trump, or anybody else. I'm not really seeing the point that they're trying to communicate here at all.
But there's no question that the Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans.
All true.
And that is a threat to this country. These are hard things. And here, in my view, is what is true. MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution.
Still true.
They do not believe in the rule of law. They do not recognize the will of the people.
You must gather your courage and know your God is with you now. He will not fail you. No matter what's around you, no matter what comes, no matter what goes, He will prosper you. He is going to do for you. You will see on the other side of this thing, you will have one testimony after another, how you thrived, how you built new homes, how you had new things, how you went new places, how you did all of these things while the world groped in darkness.
Okay, well, I feel like I understand the point they're trying to make here, but it falls completely to pieces when you realize that Biden did not declare war on anybody, and this was set on a different day. Bullock claimed it was the 28th of August. This happened days later, and it was not Biden declaring war on anybody. This is just made-up nonsense, as usual.
Yes, I'll tell them that. Should I do that now? Now, you're not God. Gather up your courage. Gather up your courage. Gather up your courage. Gather up your courage and fight.
I feel like he doesn't have a very good voice. Not trying to be mean or anything. It's like an objective assessment of the guy's singing ability. I'm just not really a fan of the voice at all. He does know how to play the guitar pretty well. I'll give him that. That's for sure.
Gather up your courage, gather up your courage, gather up your courage and fight. Gather up your courage, gather up your...
Why are they still playing this? This has nothing to do with the prophecy or whatever.
Want to do it one more time? Come on, say it. Gather up your courage.
There it is. GOP is absolutely goop. I don't understand why GOP is goop. What does it mean?
Wow.
Wow, what? He didn't prophesy anything.
See, we entered.
That's like all this guy says. You know, I can't talk too much shit because I have crutch words too. I say right and all the time. It's a problem.
Into a transition period of war, and you heard that jackal declare war on us.
Oh, yeah, he loves calling Biden a jackal. He's been calling Biden a jackal for years now. In fact, he even wrote a song about how Biden is a jackal. Let me play it for you because it's pretty suggestive and hilarious. Before watching this, I have to say I do not condone or endorse grabbing jackals by legs and or throwing them across anything.
Grab a jackal by the leg, shake him like a dog, throw him all across the ground.
This is this part right here. This is what really did it in for me and why I grabbed this clip in the first place. Watch his hand.
Grab a jackal by the leg, shake him like a dog, and throw him across the ground.
Boy, that's some skilled hand movement right there. It's like he's got a lot of practice on that. But anyway, yeah, he calls Biden a jackal constantly and believes that he's like the Antichrist or some other thing. I don't think he actually believes he's the Antichrist, but he believes he plays some evil role in prophecy.
Okay,
When he came out like he did, it was like some bad movie, Steve, where he comes out and he says, all of you that are labeled MAGA, all of you that are labeled this, anyone that supported Donald Trump, you're a threat to the U.S. Constitution. And he put, just like Hitler, he stood 2 soldiers behind him.
Okay, well, okay. I don't know if Hitler actually did that, but Donald Trump certainly did that. He used Marines to stand behind him for political ads and all kinds of other things like that. I don't really see why that matters at all. The point that Biden was trying to make is that the MAGA movement is an extremist movement that has set out to destroy democracy. Whether individual members of the MAGA movement want to destroy democracy or not, it is most definitely being used by Putin to sow division and conspiracy and stuff like that. And if you wonder why I say that, I'm releasing a whole thing about it soon on my Fireside Chat channel about how the MAGA movement and the QAnon movement get cues from Russia. They come up with conspiracy theories that have absolutely nothing to do with America or Americans or anything at all. And it's not something that Americans would even think of unless Putin kind of inserted his beliefs into the movement. It's very obvious. Like talking about bio labs and bioweapons in Ukraine and stuff. Why would Americans even come to the conclusion that there are bio labs in Ukraine? What does that have to do with anything? It's a conspiracy theory that Putin set out to spread worldwide and succeeded in spreading it.
Threatening us with the military. And
he did not threaten them with the military.
And I heard we're transitioning into war, and it was so heavy on me that day that I was weeping when I said it.
Dude, he's been saying that for like years now. He said that we're at war. Constantly he says this. This is like a joke at this point.
And then he came out with that. I had no idea that was going to happen, see. And so where we've entered into, we will win this. You have to remember, this is not going, we are going to win this thing. But there's going to be a fight. To sit around and say you're not going to have a fight and say, well, God is in control, you know, he's just in control, whether we like it or not, you're in trouble before you start. Because God wasn't even in control of you till you gave him control of you. He wasn't in control of all these terrible things that happened in the world.
I'm honestly really fascinated by the fact that this guy is even saying this right now. This is like, what happened to God's grand plan, his master plan? I thought he believed that God had a master plan that he was pushing through, making sure took place or whatever. If there's no master plan, what's even the point? Why is anybody doing anything at all? I thought that God was planning to, I don't know, usher in Armageddon or whatever else, and we wouldn't have to worry about any of this anymore. Is it actually possible to, like, delay prophecy or put a complete stop to prophecy? What a bizarre way to view things. He actually does believe that Biden is capable of stopping prophecy. He said as much not too long ago. Let me show you. Now, I don't know how that works because I thought that God was the most powerful being on planet Earth. He was capable of doing absolutely anything. And what he wanted to happen would absolutely, without a question, happen, right? Listen to this. This is from late June 2021.
And the Lord told me, he said, now the fight has left the heavens.
He's talking about after January 6th.
And it's in the earth. Now we are in a full-on spiritual war. On the 6th, it was still in the heavens, but after that day, it dropped into the earth. What we would call an administration is not one at all. There is no administration right this moment in the White House. Now, I'm just telling you straight up, there's not one there. Now, you say, well, what are you talking about, Brother Robin? That sounds crazy. Well, I'm about to explain myself.
It does sound crazy.
Glad
at least he has a little self-awareness, right? How much, I don't know, but something's knocking around in there.
I didn't know I was going to be talking about all this today until the Lord said I was. There's not an administration in the White House or in the Capitol. When the war left the heavens and came to the ground, this so-called administration is actually a regime whose sole purpose is to stop a prophecy from coming to pass. That's what it is. People say, well, you can't see that this man is the president now. No, this man is not the president. He's sitting in the seat, but that's not who he is.
It blows me away that this guy actually believes that it's even possible for somebody, anybody at all, even Satan, to overturn a prophecy from God. That seems unbiblical, right? I thought God was the most powerful being in the universe. What happened to that belief? This is just strange to me. Committee just issued a subpoena for Trump. Oh, shit. That's interesting. Getting real. God, I cannot wait to see how this plays out. He's really good at weaseling his way out of trouble, though, because he's a scumbag. Okay, let's keep listening.
Men did that. Men did that. He wasn't in control of all these terrible things that happened in the world. Men did that.
But God could have prevented these bad things from happening, right? It's possible. He is all-powerful, isn't he? Or he's supposed to be. I just don't understand how Biden or literally anybody else, up to and including Satan, could possibly reverse prophecy. It makes no sense at all to me.
Men did that. And so the church has got to gather up their courage now and just get their hands. Remember yesterday we talked about one revelation after another, and we talked about it coming down to the sword of the Spirit. Remember that?
Yeah.
And I said it's going to take the word of faith, the sword of the Spirit, the prophetic, the prophets, and they're going to have to come together so we can grip this massive blade.
That's what she said.
We're going to have to do this. Now, the Lord told me something, and I think this ties in with this. And I said this past Sunday, just out of the blue, I said it. And didn't even know why I said it. I asked afterwards, why did I say that?
Every time he does something stupid, he blames it on God.
The Lord said, I'm going to take this blade, and I'm going to cut the head off of the dragon and throw it in front of all the men. And he said, China. He's going to do it and throw it down for everybody to see.
Wow, Robin. I didn't know you said that. Wow.
God, this guy's like blown away. This is ridiculous, dude. I don't understand. Like, what's the point here?
And, I mean, we've never put it together. I told it right here.
I'm having trouble putting it together.
And he said, I'm going to cut the head off of this dragon. And he's going to use that blade to do it. So it shows you who is going to swing the blade. It's the people and their faith and God's people.
Okay, so is he saying that God's people are going to kill anybody who doesn't believe or whatever? Is that what he's putting down? Because that's what I'm picking up right now.
Now already they're talking about Hunter Biden's ties to China. Now, I didn't know any of this. Now they said he's proved it. Fox News said we've proved it.
Now, the Hunter Biden stuff is all Russian disinformation. This has been proven without a shadow of a doubt. The laptop, I believe, Hunter Biden's laptop, this is my belief personally, not verified, but I believe Hunter Biden's laptop doesn't even exist. The claim was that this repairman turned this laptop over to the FBI, but before doing so, gave the laptop contents, like copied the hard drive and gave it to Rudy Giuliani. What are the chances that Trump wouldn't have gotten his hands on the contents of the drive and just released it all over the course of like 2 years? Or honestly, over the course of like 2 months, just to stay in the media. Supposed to be 400 gigs of data on Hunter Biden, basically. I don't believe the hard drive even exists. I don't believe the laptop exists at all. Hunter Biden basically said, when asked, is this your laptop? He said, I have no idea. I don't know. I don't remember leaving one at a repair shop in Delaware or whatever else. I have no clue what they're talking about. There are some pictures of like his passport that supposedly came from the laptop. In my opinion, they hacked some of his accounts, like his Gmail account or something, and or his iCloud account, downloaded a bunch of pictures and stuff like that from it, and started releasing it, claiming that they had his laptop to give credibility to anything else that they released that they claimed came from the laptop. It's the perfect Russian disinformation campaign. It's like an endless treasure trove of nonsense that you can release without having to explain where you got it, even if it was faked. So anyway, yeah, I just, first of all, I don't care about Hunter Biden at all. He's not involved in the political like machinations of the U.S. He's not involved in politics in any way, shape, or form at this point. If he ever was, I don't know. So he's completely irrelevant to me. I wouldn't have gone after Jared Kushner or Ivanka Trump or Don Jr. or Eric or any of the other Trump kids if they had just gone on and lived their lives and stayed out of politics. They invited criticism when they stepped into the political roles that they did and started talking shit about this thing or that thing. Hunter Biden has stayed completely out of the political system in every way. He's been totally unconnected from it. I couldn't possibly give less of a shit about Hunter Biden or what's going on in his life. I hope he gets better. Seems like he's an addict at the moment. I hope he pulls it together and doesn't cause his family too much grief like I caused my family. Otherwise, I don't give a shit. Honestly, I really don't. I'll tell you what, man, I'm going to end it there. If you disagree with anything I've said up to this point, let me know what you think in the comments or on Twitter @TelltaleAtheist, and stick around for the next segment.